Hey there! Welcome to a regular, quick recap of shooting and editing techniques that help films tell the stories we love. First up are widely used shooting techniques in lots of older films. These are the establishing, master, and long shots. All these sound a bit technical, right? But don't worry, because it's time to unveil the magic and see behind the scenes. The beauty of establishing shots is in how often we've come across them, yet for some reason, probably didn't know how significant they were. Have you ever watched a movie and it starts with a really long shot of where it takes place? For example, a film shot in our very own Toronto would show iconic spots around the city, like the CN Tower, Rogers Centre, Harbourfront Centre, and more, much like a cityscape picture. So why do filmmakers start off movies this way? Establishing shots are meant to establish the setting of a film. See what we did there? By showing where the story takes place, the audience is given the context and gets the idea that where the story happens plays an important part in the story itself. Generally a long or extremely long shot that opens the film, establishing shots aim to indicate where and even when the story takes place, all to show the relationship between important figures and objects in the story. More commonly used in the classical era of filmmaking, lots of filmmakers these days tend to skip the establishing shot so scenes can move along more quickly. Plus, giving the audience the context early on also defeats the purpose for films in the thriller or mystery genre, where details are intentionally obscured or left out to build hype or suspense. So more likely than not, you've already seen an establishing shot, but probably just didn't know how important it was, or how exactly the contextual effect is achieved. Here are the most common ways filmmakers use this genius technique. First up, location, location, location. Lots of establishing shots use famous landmarks to indicate the location of where the action happens. For example, the Statue of Liberty or Empire State Building is used to indicate New York, the London Eye or Big Ben for London, the Sydney Opera House for Sydney, the Hollywood sign for LA, Eiffel Towers for Paris, and many other iconic spots around the globe. An establishing shot can also be used to establish a concept rather than a location. This way, the filmmaker can collude with the audience to provide a shorthand learned through a common cinematic cultural background. But looking at the larger picture, we may all be wondering about what makes establishing shots so significant, so much that it has become a celebrated shooting technique that defined an entire era in filmmaking. We're left to wonder, establishing shots? So what? The reality of filmmaking is this. Filmmakers have a difficult task on their hands. To tell a story means to create a world within the videos they shoot or capture, which are later on edited and stitched together to form a complete narrative. This world they create has to be believable, has depth, and a sense of reality to make it relatable for the audience. Without properly selecting frames and shooting scenes, the images and videos they capture are just that, a series of images, but without a story to them. But once the audience begins to feel that there is a tangible, spatial environment in which the story takes place, they can connect with the story the filmmaker wants to share. This challenge, then, makes video one of the most difficult mediums used to tell a story, because for the audience to connect with it, filmmakers have to show a three-dimensional world on a flat screen. So the real question is, why are modern films moving away from showing establishing shots? Another popular shooting technique in older films is the master shot. But what is it anyway? Master shots are film recordings of entire dramatized scenes, spanning the beginning to end, all shot from an angle that keeps the important players in view. Master shots are often long shots, and in some cases can even double as establishing shots. In shooting films, the master shot is the first checked off during shooting a scene, as it serves as the foundation, or what is called camera coverage. If you've done a deep dive of many older films, chances are you've already seen a master shot in play. If you've seen films that show shots of different aspects of a location, groups of 2 or 3 of the characters sharing defining moments in the story, close-ups of individual characters, insert shots of various props, all these are master shots, which are used to add magic to how the story's film is told. So what makes the master shot a defining shooting technique in older films? Historically, the master shot was deemed as the most important shot in any given scene, or the story told by film at that. Following the master shot, all the other shots taken of a scene were somehow related to what was shown in the master shot. If you're wondering why films from the 1930s and 1940s were considered stagey by today's standards, well, that's because of the master shot. And come the 60s and 70s, shooting styles shifted slightly to include radical angles that conveyed more subjectivity and intimacy within the scenes. In today's films, we still see master shots, and they are still a key element of film production. But unlike in older films, scenes are not built around the master shot anymore. Now that we've established shooting techniques and see how they're built around the master shot, see what we did there? Let's end this major throwback to the older days of shooting films, the long shot. So we've mentioned the long shot earlier along with establishing in master shots. Time to find out what it really is. Have you ever seen one of those moments in films where the character or object appears really far from the camera, like it was zoomed out a lot? That's essentially a long shot. Long shots refer to the distance between the camera and its subject, which allows the audience to draw a connection between where the object or character is with respect to a larger frame that they're part of, and helps tell their story. But heads up, don't confuse the long shot with the long take. Long takes are shots that last much longer than a conventional editing pace. So, long takes refer to the total time of the shot, while long shots are zoomed frames to show the relationship of the object or character with the larger setting. So what makes long shots significant in older films? Long shots give the audience a feeling of documentation, and it's because these don't interrupt the natural process of time. As a result, these scenes appear real, natural, and more relatable for the audience. Long shots in older films were mixed with long takes. These lasted for long periods, but the result was a mechanical recording of the role of the scene, and not so much a form of artistic expression. As it evolved, it brought in a new level of aesthetics to films, resulting in the rise of a new creative genre. So lights, camera, action, shoot, and cut. That's a wrap on the most iconic shooting techniques that defined early films and helped give rise to the modern motion pictures we love and have acclaimed today as classics. Up next are editing techniques, which answer the question, what's next after all these shots are captured, and how do they help tell the story of a generation? Tune in to our next episode to find out.